Don't you hate when your curls shrink and it looks like you have no hair? Well, let me show you this great technique that's going to lengthen your curls and add more length and curl definition. My name is Jania Church and I'm with Schwarzkopf Professional Artistic Team Member, and I can't wait to show you this technique. So my client came in and she wanted to get a styling technique that was going to help her hair be more elongated, so it's giving her better curl definition as well as lengthening her curl without the frizz. So this is how she came into me, and so we're going to go ahead and get her prepped for her service. First, you want to just analyze the hair, look at the curl pattern, identify where she's having most of her challenges. Just by the way the frizz is coming in, I can almost identify some key things that may have been the issue regarding proper saturation of product and things of that nature. Before we shampoo her, we want to make sure that we detangle her hair. So I like to go in with a product, not just go in directly with using a brush. I like to go in with using like a leave-in spray conditioner by Beyond Me. I love this product because it really moisturizes the hair. It provides more slip to the hair. So as I'm brushing through, it's going to be more gentle. So you can see here, this product is very lightweight. So I'll lightly mist the product all over the hair, really ensuring that I can actually feel the hair beginning to detangle just with my hands. Then I'm gonna go in and section out the hair using a brush. I love this brush because it doesn't have the balls on the ends, which is really helpful as you're working with textured hair in general, because it's gonna alleviate the natural pull that happens with the beads of the hair. So you wanna section out the hair just so you have more of a process and strategy. So this particular step is going to help your client as well, because it's not going to pull the hair, especially for those clients that are tender-headed. So then you want to take the hair, you want to start working at the ends. You can see how much easier this hair is starting to detangle. And we're going to just lightly go through the hair just to detangle the hair. This technique for prep is something that I also do whenever I'm going to cut the hair as well. This will allow me to see how the natural pattern and texture of the hair and growth patterns fall. So really go in and just really saturate the hair. The hair isn't dripping wet, however, it's definitely moisturized, so it allows for much easier detangling. And you can, again, start to see and begin to see the shape of the hair. So if you were analyzing this for a haircut, this is going to be a perfect technique. So as you can see, we're sectioning out the hair into subsections, just making sure that we're gonna detangle the hair nicely. And what we're doing is we're taking this section, the subsection, and we're starting on the ends. And the reason why that's important is, one, the hair is gonna be tangled just in general most of the time with curly hair, but especially in fine hair too. I find that it's very important to approach hair in general from starting at the ends, because this breaks up any of the knots that they may have, any tangles like that. So as you're working up the hair, this is gonna be much easier to remove any tangles, and it's gonna put less tension or stress on the hair as you're working up. So you can now see how we're really starting to remove those tangles, and this is gonna help. The reason why this step is important as well, as you're working and taking your client, before you take them to the shampoo bowl, if we miss this step, this is what causes tangles sometimes at the shampoo bowl when you're working with textured hair. So it's better. This is also great if you had someone that was in a protective style, such as braids. We're seeing a lot of braids that are coming back, hitting the runways and things of that nature. Anytime you've had braids in for an extended period of time, the hair continues to grow. It continues to grow. And then what happens is the hair can get tangled from that loose hair that you lose in the natural state is gonna get tangled around the coils of the hair. So it's better for you to start with this technique as well, just to remove any tangles before you begin that process. So now you can see where we've detangled one half of her head, and it really has helped us to see the shape better. We were looking at this to analyze it for a haircut, but it also helps us to know that we're gonna be able to be free of tangles before we take her to the shampoo bowl. So now we're gonna begin with the other side. So one of the key things here is I like to work from the bottom up when I'm detangling. It's not that you're not able to do it from the other way, but for me, it just helps to keep the sectionings down and helps keep the tangles moving out of the hair with a systematic approach. So for me, this really works well. By starting to remove the tangles at the end, be mindful to put tension here at the mid shaft. And what that does is helps to prevent any additional pulling or tugging on the hair to prevent extra stress or any discomfort to your client. How are you guys detangling your hair at home? Is this something that's helpful for you? Do you find that when you approach curly hair, you don't know where to begin? I think this is a great way to help with that, and it does ease your client's mind. I've had several clients come in and say, you know, they can tell someone's uncomfortable with textured hair just by how they start. So I definitely think that this is something that's been beneficial for me, but let me know if this is something that you guys have struggled with in the past and you find this information helpful. Okay, so we've already finished detangling our client and now she's ready to be shampooed. We shampooed her with Blami Rich Shampoo and Rich Conditioner, and we followed with the Rich Mask. I like to use the Blami Care products because with textured hair, I feel like they have very similar needs to anyone with blondes. Sometimes it's more fragile, they're gonna need more nourishment and definitely more moisture. So those products tend to work really well as a great foundation and base to begin our styling technique. So curl elongation. What is curl elongation? I would say when you think about curly hair textures, especially once you get into those level 4A, B, and C curl patterns, you can see the curls shrinking up. A lot of times that doesn't mean that the hair is that short. However, it's just that it needs more curl elongations to really stretch out the curl and give more curl definition. So a lot of times my clients come in and they're like, what can I do to help my hair look more defined, but then also showcase the length that I have? So this technique is going to be perfect for that, and so let's get started. When we're talking about doing prep for this technique, you want to consider your product. The product that we use, we have 3 different options for curly hair, depending on the amount of hold you want and the amount of density your client has and the texture. So this first product that we have as an option is Bounty Balm. Bounty Balm does not have a hold factor. However, it does have a natural hold. It is going to give you more of a natural finish. It does have some great heat protection, but I love it, especially for those clients that love a cream product. This product will work great for any texture of hair. Next, we have Curl Jam. Curl Jam is a product that does have a hold factor of 1. So Curl Jam is going to give you a nice hold that's going to give you a nice cast to the hair that really plays up the curl definition. And the next product is Tipsy Twirl. Tipsy Twirl has a hold factor of 2, so it is going to be much stronger, the strongest out of all of those 3 products. And the way that they vary is going to depend on, like I said, if you're working with fine, medium, or coarse texture of hair, and which curl patterns you're working with as well. So we're going to get started today, and we're going to use Tipsy Twirl because we do want something that is going to be more of a firm hold to hold the set that's going to help to elongate the hair and reduce any frizz. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the hair is really nice and moist. And when we brought her back from the shampoo bowl, we did go in with a microfiber towel, so it is going to retain a lot more of the moisture versus just a regular cotton towel. So that is important as well, especially as you're working with some of the coilier textures. The hair tends to dry out sometimes even by the time you get from the shampoo bowl to the chair. With this texture, it looks very coarse, but it is very fine. It's just got a lot of density, and the curl can make it look really full and thick. However, the hair is really fine, so it can tend to dry really fast. So you want to make sure that you keep some water or another moisture product, such as our Blami leave-in spray that we use to detangle. This is something that you may want to consider. However, you got to keep in mind what is the moisture in this product coupled with the hold of the product of choice. Does that have an impact? Will it reduce the amount of hold factor? I always want to subsection the hair. So with the subsection, the tighter the coil, the wider the section you can go. So even as it relates to your subsection, as you're working in the salon, you'll get this down pat. I mean, there are times that I will take maybe 6 to 8 sections all over the head with this technique. It's a 2-strand twist, and what it does is it stretches the curl out as the 2 strands wrap around each other. It's going to elongate the curl. So depending on how wide you would like the wave to be or how tight you would like the wave to be will determine your individual subsection. So if you want a tighter section or a coil, then you would take smaller sections. If you want a looser wave, then you would take a much larger section. So you can see here the difference, and that will determine how long or how much of a wave you will get versus a curl. So as you're going through, you want to make sure to be mindful to still detangle the hair before applying product. And now we're going to use Tipsy Twirl. So this is going to be more of a gel-like consistency. It does have a firm hold. And so depending on the amount and the section, this amount is a great amount to start for your whole entire subsection. So we are going to apply generously throughout the whole subsection, working from bottom nape area to the top. Now we're going to take a subsection, and because I want more of a looser wave, I am going to go with a little bit wider section. So this is about a 2-inch in width section. I'm going to divide that in half, and we're going to 2-strand twist. So basically you have 2 strands that are overlapping one another, maintaining tension as you work down the strand. So it's going to look like this. Taking this over, pulling everything nice and taut. Create a twist, and you're gonna work down. Key things here is making sure to always keep the hair free from tangles, because you don't want to set the hair when you go to separate the hair later. If you don't work your tangles out now, that could create frizz of you trying to divide this section and actually separate it. So you want to make sure you keep everything nice and clean as you're twisting down. And you want to ensure that you don't have too much product buildup. If you are starting to see a lot of product gathered to the surface, that means there's a potential for too much product or too much water in the hair. So you want to make sure that you have ample amount of moisture in the hair to work the product in, the product's able to absorb, but at the same token, you don't want to do too much product, especially when you're working with firmer hold product, because you know that you are going to go back in later and separate the hair. So we're going to twist all the way down. And as we're getting to the end, we're running out of hair. So usually what I'll do is I'll just take my finger and twist it together just like that. Okay, so you can see there's not a lot of excess product buildup here. So I have ample amount of product so that it has been absorbed into the hair, but it does show that it's free from tangles as well, because I maintained the same throughout as far as detangling as I work down. So now we're going to go to this next section in the back, nape area, about the same width apart. So this is about how much product I would use for my entire subsection, and we'll then emulsify it, and we're using our hands as a reservoir. So I really want to make sure that my fingers have product, my palms have product, because as I'm working this through the hair, I'm using every bit of my hand just to make sure that there's complete saturation internally as well as externally. A lot of times when clients use product at home, they're not using enough product. So what happens is they're really just applying product on the surface. This is very important to make sure that you're getting product internally as well as externally for best results. So again, we're going to take these 2 sections, and then we're going to create nice tension as we're twisting. So what you're seeing here, It's a little bit of product, right? So we're gonna just squeeze that product out as we work through, and we can actually remove some product on our hand if that happens. Because a lot of times we're reapplying product because we use our fingers, our hands as a reservoir. So just to make sure that you don't have too much, you can definitely go in and remove any excess. So we're just gonna twist as we go, making sure to keep the hair nice and tangle free. And we're gonna work all the way down. So this technique is really great because in this way we're using it to elongate curls. However, if you have someone with straight hair, we can actually create texture by setting their straight hair this way. One thing that's also important is if you have someone that's transitioning from a chemical relaxer or straightener that wants to become more of a natural state and they want to embrace their texture, this is great in that in-between phase where they have straighter ends and then they have more of a natural regrowth or root area. So you can create this texture by adding this set on the ends and letting their natural hair be free here at the roots. So this is gonna be a great transition technique for that. But again, if you have completely bone straight hair, you can actually achieve a textured look with this technique. So now we have completed this one side, the entire perimeter, and you can see here we drop down just so we can get another section in this mid area here, right at the occipital bone. And then the next subsection is going to be brick lay. So what this does is it helps, as we take this down, it helps for us to avoid any holes or any pockets of fullness that would lack fullness. So we want to make sure that we just fill in those gaps by the brick lay pattern. You want to make sure that as you're detangling that you're starting on the ends, holding pressure at the mid length to avoid putting extra stress on the client's scalp. Something to also consider, I am taking more straighter parts so you guys can see the sections and subsections, but there's also times that I actually have created a wave pattern to match with the wave of the texture. So you can definitely do that too, because it helps your, when you take it down, it blends more seamlessly when it's not a harsh straight line. So that's just something to consider for future time for you to try. So in this brick lay pattern, we're gonna go directly in the middle. This front section is gonna be a little bit smaller, and then this section is gonna go back to our 2-inch section. Okay? So that it falls directly in between these two-strand twists. So as we're doing a 2-strand twist, of course we're gonna go down the center again, we're gonna 2-strand twist. You may be wondering if I'm holding this at a certain angle. Not necessarily, I'm really doing it more like at a 45-degree angle, just for the natural way that the hair falls. However, it doesn't matter, because once this hair, this 4B hair, once you take this apart, I can actually create an afro shape if I needed to. Once this is completely dry and we expand it out and separate it, I can go in and tease the roots and create this amazing shape. So I really don't have to worry about if I'm coming 90 off the head, 45 off the head. It really is just gonna be more about making sure that these two independent twists, that they're completely tangle free, so it helps with the ease of separation. This technique, some people are actually wearing this as a finished look as well, which serves dual purpose. So as the hair is setting, they're actually wearing it as a style. We've also seen people incorporating beads on the end of this. However, if you are gonna wear this as a style, you definitely wanna be more mindful of where your partings are, so that you make sure that it is gonna translate really well as a finished look. So this section is much larger because we are gonna stretch this out, and this will just show you the difference in how you can incorporate smaller subsections and larger ones. This particular one, by us having a little bit larger subsection, it's just gonna make sure that we stretch this curl out just a little bit more. However, sometimes people with really coily hair, it's denser in this crown area. So that's why you may use a technique like this in the middle, because you have to take all things into consideration. If it is gonna be much denser curl pattern here, then we want to make sure that we go a little bit larger to stretch that curl out. Have you guys experienced your clients not really knowing how much product to use, which products to use for their naturally curly hair? Comment below with some of the things you've noticed your clients doing when they have extremely coily or curly hair. Now you can take a look at this coil or two-strand twist. You can take a look at this two-strand twist and you can see the slight difference. But as you can see, this is where it's going to be stretched a little bit further in comparison to this area. So if you have that client with that super dense area in the crown, this is when you would want to go with a much larger section, and you'll see why. So you can see we've already done like 3/4 of the head, and this particular area here has just been shown in a larger section for you to identify when you may need to go with a larger section with this technique due to the amount of density in the crown area of the extremely curly and coily hair textures. However, you can adjust your sections and subsections as needed depending on the type of curl pattern that you're working with and the amount of wave you're trying to achieve or curl elongation you're trying to achieve. So now we're gonna go around to the front and we are going to talk about how to achieve the curl elongation with this client. We want to make sure that we're pulling everything forward because we can always separate the hair and move it from one side to the other, but it's best not to have a harsh line of demarcation as far as setting it with the center part, unless that client always wears the hair in the center, because it's going to be harder for you to really manipulate it and go in another direction sometimes when it's set that way. So if it's set forward, you can always take and move the hair on either side. So now we're going to do our last section, and it's right at the very top crown here, and we are pulling this one forward, so we still kept our same brick lay pattern. So this first section in the fringe was about 2 inches wide or a little bit more, and I brought that all together into one subsection, and then right behind that I did a brick lay pattern, and then this last section is going to be one whole section. I am going to be twisting it towards the face just because it's going to push as I start to expand it. It's going to give me extra height in this crown area. So by bringing this forward versus back, could you go back and twist it towards the back? Yes, you can. It's not going to impact the end result. This just gives me a little bit more over direction towards the face, so then it's going to give me extra height. She's ready to be set now. There's multiple ways that you can dry this. So sometimes, most of the time in the salon, I am going to put them under a hooded dryer. By putting them under a hooded dryer, it's just going to expedite the drying process. I can diffuse this technique, however, it is going to take a little bit longer because of how tightly wound those coils are. It would take a little bit longer. However, there are times where clients want to wear the style home and just let it dry completely overnight, and then we will give them instructions on what to do to take down the hair. We'll discuss in just a moment as we allow the client to dry. So we are wanting to make sure the hair is going to be completely dry before we begin to take this down. So the timing for that can vary depending on the density and the texture of the hair. So we just came back from allowing our client to dry. Again, there's a couple different ways that you can dry this. You can air dry this. Your clients could wear the style home and take it down the next day, or we can go in and sit her under the hood dryer in the salon, or we can diffuse it. However, if you diffuse it in the salon, it does take just a little bit longer. So I would recommend a hood dryer. So now that she's all dry, the first thing you want to do is just make sure that it's completely dry. So if you see any cool or feel any cool spots, you want to make sure that you sit her back under the dryer if needed. But if not, we can proceed to start the separation process and the takedown. So what I'm going to use is the Fiber Clinic's light oil that has our bonding technology in it. I like this oil because it's lightweight, but one of the other things that it does as well is it allows us to break the cast and allow for a really nice clean separation. And it does break down the hole just enough so it's going to be more soft to touch. So what I'm doing is I'm basically working down all the strands of the two-strand twist. Just really stretching and breaking that hold. So now that I've done that, we're gonna begin by starting to take down this first section. So the key here is to make sure we have a clean takedown. So I really wanna make sure I see exactly where I did the two-strand twist. That's why it was very important for prep to ensure that there was no loose hair so that you can have this really nice clean separation. We'll go back in and then we'll just go in a circular motion just to remove any of the partings so that you're not able to see those in the finished look. So now we're taking our last section down. You can see that we have really nice clean sections, but then you also see the parts that we made while we were prepping. So what we want to do is remove those parts by expanding this hairstyle out and really starting to style. So what you would do is just really begin to break it apart more. And this technique again is more about curl elongation. So you can actually see how this has stretched the curl out and really been able to showcase the length of the hair, whereas normally this hair texture would shrink and it would look much shorter. So by doing this technique, it's gonna definitely give you more curl elongation. And now we're just wanting to make it full and more of a wearable style. Okay, so we've completely taken down the set and you can see I've already started expanding, and really I'm working my fingers in a circular motion at the roots just to separate where the parts were so they're less visible. So the more she wears the style, the better and more organic it would look. But this way it just helps to remove the parts by just going in a circular motion and working more at the roots with that, and then leaving the ends more intact. You can definitely still separate them, but you don't want to put too much friction on the ends and create more frizz. So it's important for you to really work internal first and then come out to the ends. So guys, this is my finished look for curl elongation. Definitely a great technique for those clients that are wanting to lengthen their hair to prevent shrinkage, as well as adding more curl definition. Hope you guys like it. If this is something you tried or you plan to try in the future, feel free to tag us and definitely subscribe for more creative techniques.